I'm pregnant with your husband's baby," my sister Vanessa announced at my 5th anniversary dinner, her voice cutting through the upscale restaurant's ambient noise as she stood beside our table with her hand placed protectively over her still flat stomach. My parents looked down at their plates, their silence confirming they'd already known. Had probably known for weeks while they'd helped me plan this celebration. My husband Daniel sat frozen beside me, unable to meet my eyes, his champagne glass suspended halfway to his lips as his affair was broadcast to the table he'd reserved to celebrate half a decade of marriage. I felt the eyes of other diners turning toward our private drama, felt the weight of public humiliation settling around my shoulders. And then I smiled, because Vanessa had chosen the perfect moment, the exact moment I'd been waiting for. "Perfect timing," I said, reaching into my purse. "Here's the divorce papers I prepared 3 months ago. And here's the paternity test from your last business trip. The baby isn't his either." Vanessa's triumphant expression crumbled into something that looked like fear. "Let me tell you about the anniversary dinner that destroyed 2 lies instead of 1. I'd known about Daniel's affair for 4 months. The signs had been there for longer: late nights, mysterious phone calls, sudden business trips that left no paper trail. But confirmation came when I found receipts in his jacket pocket. A hotel room in a city he'd claimed not to visit, charged to a credit card I didn't know existed. I hired a private investigator that same week. What he discovered was worse than I'd imagined. Not just an affair, but an affair with my younger sister. Secret meetings at hotels and apartments. Intimate dinners charged to accounts Daniel thought I'd never find. A relationship that had apparently been ongoing for nearly 2 years. Nearly the entire second half of my marriage had been a lie. The rational response would have been immediate confrontation. Screaming, crying, demanding explanations. Throwing his clothes onto the lawn and changing the locks. The dramatic scenes that feel so satisfying in the moment, but leave you vulnerable when the legal battles begin. I chose a different approach. I called my attorney. Victoria Mason specialized in high-conflict divorce. "Your husband has substantial assets," she noted during our first consultation. "The prenup you signed protects his premarital wealth, but anything accumulated during the marriage is subject to equitable distribution. I want all of it, everything I'm entitled to. That's achievable, but we'll need documentation. Evidence of his affair will be useful. California is a no-fault state, but judges are human. Demonstrating his betrayal can influence discretionary decisions. I have evidence. A lot of it. Then we have options. The question is how you want to proceed." I knew exactly how I wanted to proceed. The next 3 months were the performance of my life. I smiled at family dinners while my parents discussed plans they were apparently making with my sister. Plans I wasn't invited to know about. I kissed Daniel goodbye each morning while my investigator documented his movements. I planned our anniversary celebration while my attorney drafted divorce papers designed to extract maximum value from a marriage built on betrayal. Nobody suspected anything. Vanessa continued her secret meetings, probably rehearsing the moment she'd reveal her pregnancy, her trump card, her proof that Daniel was hers now. Daniel continued his routine of lies, increasingly confident that his deception was working. My parents continued keeping their daughter's secret, choosing sides without telling me a battle had begun. I watched them all, and I prepared. The paternity test was my investigator's greatest find. Following Daniel during one of his business trips, he documented a meeting that didn't involve Daniel at all, Vanessa with another man, at a clinic that offered confidential DNA testing. The investigator, through methods I didn't ask about, obtained a copy of the results. The baby Vanessa was carrying wasn't Daniel's. She'd been having her own affair, apparently, hedging her bets, keeping options open. The pregnancy she planned to use as proof of her relationship with my husband was actually evidence of her betrayal of him. The irony was almost beautiful. The anniversary dinner was Vanessa's idea. She'd suggested it to our parents as a family celebration, a venue for her announcement, a stage for her triumph. My parents had agreed, probably believing they were facilitating a necessary conversation, a ripping off of bandages that would let everyone move forward. I'd agreed because it was exactly what I needed. A public setting. Witnesses. The dramatic moment that would make negotiation easier and sympathy harder for anyone to deny me. Vanessa thought she was ambushing me. I was ambushing everyone. The restaurant was elegant, expensive, the kind of place where scenes weren't supposed to happen. My parents arrived first, nervous and oddly formal. Daniel and I came together, his hand on my back feeling like a lie I could finally name. Vanessa arrived last, dressed beautifully, practically glowing with anticipation. The appetizers arrived. Small talk circulated. And then Vanessa stood. "I have an announcement," she said. "I'm pregnant with your husband's baby." The words were designed to wound, to shatter, to leave me broken in public while she claimed the man I'd married. But I wasn't broken. I was ready. "Perfect timing," I said, reaching into my purse. "Here's the divorce papers I prepared 3 months ago." I placed the folder on the table in front of Daniel. His face went white. "And here's the paternity test from your last business trip." I slid the second document toward Vanessa. "The baby isn't his either." The silence that followed was extraordinary. Vanessa grabbed the paternity results, scanning them with eyes that grew wider with each line. The test was conclusive, 99.97% certainty that the father was someone named Marcus Webb, a man I'd researched thoroughly. A married investment banker she'd been seeing for 6 months. Not Daniel. Not even close. This can't be," Vanessa's voice shook. "It's accurate. I had my investigator verify it independently." I kept my voice calm, pleasant almost. "You were so focused on your pregnancy announcement that you didn't consider someone might look into the details." Daniel found his voice. "You knew? For how long?" "For months. Long enough to document everything. The hotel rooms, the secret credit cards, the lies about business trips." I looked at him directly. "Long enough to ensure the divorce settlement reflects exactly what you did to our marriage." My parents sat frozen, their faces revealing the dawning horror of what they'd participated in. "You knew about the affair," I said to them. "Both of you. You helped Vanessa plan this announcement. You kept her secret while I planned our anniversary celebration." My mother started crying. "We thought," Vanessa said. Vanessa said what? That I'd understand? That I'd step aside gracefully? That breaking up a marriage was acceptable because she wanted what I had. "We thought it would be better to tell you together." Better for who? Not for me. I stood, gathering the documents I'd spread across the table. "I filed for divorce. The papers are served. Daniel, your attorney should contact Victoria Mason by Monday to begin settlement discussions." "Claire, please." "Please what? Please pretend this didn't happen? Please forgive the 2-year affair with my sister." I shook my head. I stopped being able to do please when I found out my family was conspiring against me. Vanessa made one final attempt. "You think you're so clever," she hissed. "But you still lose. You lose Daniel. You lose the marriage. You're still the one getting divorced. I lose a cheating husband and a lying sister. That's not losing. That's getting rid of dead weight." I smiled at her. "And you? You lose the man you thought you'd won, because now he knows the baby isn't his. You lose your backup plan because Marcus Webb's wife is about to receive very interesting documentation. And you lose any moral high ground you might have claimed." Vanessa's face went pale. "You wouldn't. I already have. Mrs. Webb should be receiving a package tomorrow." I gathered my purse. "You wanted to destroy my life tonight. Instead, you gave me the perfect exit and destroyed your own." I walked out of that restaurant with my dignity intact. The divorce proceedings that followed were swift and comprehensive. Daniel, confronted with documentation of his affair and the damage it would cause to his professional reputation, agreed to a settlement far more generous than the prenup required. I received the house, half of his accumulated assets, and a spousal support arrangement that would provide security for years. He received the consequences of his choices. Vanessa's situation collapsed even more spectacularly. Marcus Webb's wife, upon receiving the documentation I'd sent, filed for divorce immediately. The Webb family's considerable social circle learned the details through the court filings, which became part of public record. Vanessa's pregnancy, which she'd planned to use as leverage, became evidence of her double betrayal. Neither Daniel nor Marcus wanted anything to do with the child. Daniel because it wasn't his, Marcus because acknowledging paternity would cost him too much in his own divorce. She'd played both men against each other, and lost both. My parents attempted reconciliation 3 months after the dinner. "We made a terrible mistake," my mother said during the meeting they'd requested. "We should have told you what was happening. We should have been on your side. Why weren't you?" Vanessa convinced us. She said you and Daniel were already having problems. That the marriage was ending anyway. That she and Daniel were in love. And you believed her without asking me? Without considering that your other daughter might have a perspective worth hearing. They had no answer. You chose Vanessa. You helped her plan the ambush. You sat at that table knowing what was coming and said nothing. I stood. I'm not angry anymore. But I don't trust you. And I don't know if I ever will again. The relationship that remained was cordial but distant. The closeness we'd had was another casualty of that dinner. Daniel married Vanessa 8 months after our divorce was finalized. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The affair he'd had because he connected with her more than with me became a marriage that started with betrayal as its foundation. They deserved each other. The baby, Marcus Webb's biological child, was born into a complicated situation. Daniel legally adopted it, apparently determined to create the family he'd destroyed his first marriage to pursue. I heard through mutual friends that the marriage was struggling within the first year. Trust, once broken, is difficult to rebuild, and both of them knew exactly how capable the other was of deception. I rebuilt my life without them. Sold the house that held too many memories. Moved to a different city, started fresh. Built a career that had nothing to do with my marriage and everything to do with what I wanted. Eventually, I found someone new. A man who knew my history and loved me anyway. Who understood that the armor I wore was earned, not arbitrary. We've been together 3 years now. No secrets. No deceptions. The kind of partnership I thought I'd had with Daniel before I learned what partnership actually required. People ask sometimes if I regret how I handled the dinner. The ambush. The counter-ambush. The documents spread across a restaurant table while other diners watched my family implode. I don't regret it. Vanessa planned to humiliate me publicly. She chose the venue, the timing, the audience. She wanted witnesses to my devastation. Instead, she got witnesses to her own. The paternity test was the detail she never anticipated, the proof that her triumph was built on a foundation as false as my marriage. She'd lied to Daniel the same way Daniel had lied to me, and the revelation destroyed whatever moral authority she thought she held. I'm pregnant with your husband's baby. She'd said those words expecting to win, but she'd underestimated what I was capable of when given time to prepare. Underestimated how thoroughly I'd investigated, how carefully I'd planned, how completely I'd documented everything. She thought she was exposing me. She exposed herself instead. The divorce papers I'd carried to that dinner were more than legal documents. They were proof that I'd known, that I'd chosen not to collapse when I discovered the truth, but to build a response. That the woman she'd expected to destroy was stronger than she'd ever imagined. The paternity test was insurance, evidence that Vanessa's weapon wasn't as powerful as she believed. Together, they transformed what should have been my worst moment into my best. I think about that dinner sometimes. The way my parents' eyes dropped when Vanessa made her announcement. The way Daniel froze, unable to face me. The way Vanessa's confidence crumbled when she read the test results. They'd all underestimated me. All assumed I was the victim in a story they were controlling. But I'd been writing my own version all along. And in my version, the ending was different. Vanessa tried to take everything I had. My husband, my marriage, my dignity. She ended up losing more than I ever did. That's not revenge. That's just consequence. And watching it unfold at my own anniversary dinner, surrounded by everyone who'd conspired against me, was the most satisfying meal I've ever had.